Hey everyone, welcome. I am Casey Rowley, college counselor at Beverly Hills High School. And keep in mind that you can search videos and find more content on collegecounselorrowley.com on my blog and also on Instagram at College Counselor Rowley. But I'm really excited because today we have Chuck Lydiard from the University of Delaware. He is the Assistant Director of West Coast Admissions. And what's really cool about today's video is that we are talking about how to really look into an alumni network at a college or university. So whether you're a senior deciding and committing to a university or you're a younger student just trying to make sense of the value of a college, you're really going to walk away with some tips and a tool that you can actually use. So Chuck, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I find, as a counselor, when students are building their college list and trying to put together how to search a school, I really encourage them to look on what I call that return on investment piece. And so how, like, differentiating a college between how strong their alumni network is, I guess if I'm a student, why would that even matter to me?
Well, I don't think that there's just one or a couple great schools that have the ultimate alumni network. But what I do find is that students who are about to embark on their college journey are about to join a new network that's going to really have some fruitful opportunities as they go along both their personal but also professional career. So the first network generally a student always has is their family, and the one that they're probably most active in right now besides perhaps family is their high school network. And obviously the college network is going to be vitally important, not just from a social aspect if you're going to another city and living there and you might want to connect with graduates from your particular college, but also if you are looking to grow in your prospective career. I find that students that are searching for jobs, they might find that they might want to see if a particular company has someone from that has graduated from the institution that they are at or they have graduated from.
Yeah, that's so smart. So I think it's important. You kind of mentioned two aspects of it. So when you're in college, that's your community. So you want to ensure that you have a community of, like-minded individuals, but also mentors and people that will challenge you and help you grow in the field that you're interested in. And then by the time you graduate, if you're looking for that job like Amazon per se, or you're looking to go into a certain field, really diving deep to see if I were to graduate from here, what kind of resume would I have and what kind of employability strength would I have when I exit the school. Especially, I find if you're a student in Los Angeles, for example, and you're considering going out of state, you just want to see what those connections could look like.
Absolutely. And also, as you're going through your college search process and you have conversations with college admissions counselors, either at a great college fair like your own or local NAC at college fairs or high school visits, most college admissions counselors are going to talk highly on their alumni network. But I do feel that there are tools out there that you can certainly utilize to kind of see more concrete evidence of what alumni have done while they have been at their respective colleges, but also perhaps different career ladders that they are involved in as well. And if you want to, we can kind of jump in on one of those tools if you like.
Yeah, that was a perfect
Yeah,
setup.
sure.
Go right ahead. So today our tool is
It's LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
And I know most time when I talk at a high school, most high school students have heard of LinkedIn, but when I ask how many have joined, a lot of them have not because they feel that that is their parents' social media network and they don't want to be on the same platform as their parents. But
Got it.
just kind of, I want everyone to know this. I've talked to a lot of colleges, a lot of college admissions counselors, and even mine at the University of Delaware. One of the first things you do as a first year student is through the Career Center or through your advisor is to actually join LinkedIn. So I want to kind of show you a great resource. I'm going to share my screen. I feel this would be a great resource for students to begin creating their own LinkedIn profile. And yes, even as a high school student, you can actually create your own profile.
And LinkedIn, for anyone who is really unfamiliar with the website, it really is a professional network online. Think of kind of like a Facebook. You have a personal page, but it is for networking, and you can put an online resume. So Chuck, you'll lead us through the different profile pieces and how that could help you as a student.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's a resume that essentially never sleeps. In that, if anyone were to, if you had a LinkedIn profile and someone was to do a Google search on you, you could certainly have your LinkedIn profile pop up. As a high school student, you can certainly set privacy settings to private, and only LinkedIn members would be able to kind of see your profile while doing searching. So you can certainly, as you are beginning to create your profile, you can certainly monitor your privacy settings how you like. But yes, having a photo on there is definitely important. I'm just going to kind of scroll through this 2-page guide, which I did send to you, Casey, so you can certainly share with your
Perfect.
families.
Yeah, I'll add the link at the bottom.
Having a good headline. So I'll give you a good example. And I feel that as a high school student, you're already doing amazing things. If you don't, I think here at the headline, if you put something you're passionate about, I think it's very important. It could be something related to a future major, a career, or just maybe you're passionate about learning, you're passionate about art. It only needs to be a couple sentences, but it's really that first impression that people have about you. Experience. I feel honestly, Casey, that there's a strong correlation between what students are asked for at their LinkedIn profile, and then also what students might be asked for with the Common Application, which many of your students are probably being exposed to now and will be filling out for many colleges their senior year.
Yeah,
But
yeah, absolutely. And think of the experience as kind of your list of activities and awards, what you would put on that college application.
absolutely. And I feel that for students in both the Common Application and their LinkedIn profile, if they focus on what they got out of the particular activity and not just listing what you did, is very important. Because so you can certainly focus on certain skills, maybe communication, leadership skills versus I was the vice president of a club that met monthly. You can talk about individual skills that you developed by being a part of that activity or organization.
That's a great tip because not only are you listing what you did, but it's the impact and your role. And then, from an admissions counselor standpoint, that is much more beneficial. And also for a future employer to see the skill set and the growth from your activity.
With the Common App, you're limited to, I believe, 150 characters
Mm-hmm.
for each activity. That you're not limited here for your experiences like the Common App, but I do feel those same parameters. That's important because people aren't generally going to have a lot of time to read a full paragraph for each activity you did. But there's a sections for honors, awards, projects that you might be proud of. So obviously for the high school profile here for the guide, this individual is involved with the first robotic competition. You can talk about, you don't have to list all your courses, but maybe courses that are unique or really interesting to you.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I find is here is you have a separate place for your volunteer experience and causes too. You can also ask, and you don't need to have every section filled out to create your profile, keep that in mind, but you might have had maybe a coach, maybe you have a leader in the community you volunteered for that might want to write a short recommendation for you, because theoretically, this could be used as a point to direct internship decision makers. If you're looking for possible internship, if you were to create a profile, here's something else that they could possibly look at in addition to possibly a resume that you might submit with an application.
Yeah, I like that. I like they have the recommendation section. It's a nice snapshot. And like you said, if you're looking to get an internship and you have an up-to-date profile, you're already ready to apply.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I find that it takes a couple hours to complete a thoughtful profile. And I've had a profile for 6 to 7 years now, and I actually update it quarterly. So every 3 months, I actually go back and I check what I have to make sure that everything's up to date. So keep in mind that you don't want to just create this and then walk away. You certainly want to readdress this, just like you would a professional resume as well.
That's a good tip.
But once you actually create a profile, I want to show you of a great tool that LinkedIn has to actually do research on colleges. So we were talking about the University of Michigan, but I've actually feel that there are so many colleges, not only in the United States, but I also did some random searches of international schools that are on LinkedIn. And this is another resource where you can obviously get news and updates that are happening for a particular university. So being that LinkedIn is more of a professional social media network, I feel that there is different content that's being shared here, perhaps accolades, research, or a variety of other news or updates that are happening that you may not find on Instagram or on Facebook. But once you are a member of LinkedIn, you can click search and search any school. So I'm just going to stay with Michigan, but you can just type any school in here and you click on it. And where I think students can find a lot of value besides the information that's shared here is if they go down and click alumni. Now, I want you to keep in mind that the number that's displayed here is the amount of alumni from the University of Michigan that are on LinkedIn. It's not the total amount. Most likely that's larger. But for LinkedIn members that are that have graduated either with an undergraduate or graduate degree from the University of Michigan, we have the opportunity to actually do some quick searches on specific people, and you can actually dive into their profiles and kind of look at their career background, and perhaps for recent graduates, some of the activities they might have done that have furthered their academic interests while at school. So let's have some fun, Casey. Do you want to maybe just give me some searches here that we can quickly do?
So would I be able to then search if I was a student interested in business, for example? Am I able to just search pretty general like that? Especially if I'm a student from California, I'm thinking of going to Michigan or a place like Delaware, and you want to get to know, like, okay, if I go out of state and I want to come back home, what does that look like? Okay, so we have business.
So this in general will obviously decrease the amount of people that we're going to be able to look at. This could mean that they've had business in their degree title or business in their current career title or company. So from there, yeah, we see that that number has gone down by 60% almost. So obviously we don't expect you to look at 118,000 different profile pages, but yeah, we could even search on geography or even companies too. So which one do we want to do next? Obviously we're in California. Do we want to see alumni in the greater LA area?
Yeah, let's go to the greater Los Angeles area.
All right.
I'm also a fan. You might have a company you want to work with in mind, but if you're a high school student just starting your search, I think it's fun to kind of keep it open and see what types of companies alumni are getting into.
Yeah. So where they work, we have a lot that work at USC, Kaiser Permanente, some that work for the University of Michigan in some capacity, but live in LA. Warner Brothers Entertainment, Hulu.
That's really cool. You know what I find interesting about this is that we searched business, and a lot of students are interested in business, but even the breadth of the companies. So you have SpaceX and Hulu and you know, Amgen and Mattel. So you have a variety of organizations that you can use a business degree for. So
you're right. I mean, some people have a narrow-minded, and I don't expect high school students to know exactly what their degree might end up translating to later. Of course, there's certified professions, especially in healthcare and engineering, that if you don't have a certain certification, you probably can't be in a certain career in a capacity. But, you know, some people change their mind. They might do a full, complete career switch, and they might have had a degree from their university in one area, but the way life takes them, they might end up in another area. So you're right. You do have a wide variety of companies that are here. Well, why don't we choose one?
Yeah. Let's choose Hulu. That's very popular.
Right?
I think it's interesting. Yeah.
So we went from 300 and some thousand to now 11 University of Michigan alumni that live in the greater Los Angeles area, have had some sort of focus at some point within business, and work at Hulu. So we're down to 11. So I think it might be a good time just to kind of scroll down and see who these individuals are. And you know, I don't want to go too much in the weeds here, but this number next to their name means you usually have first, second, and third connections. These are connections. Okay. So a first connections means that I have actually clicked connect, and the other person has agreed to be connected with me on LinkedIn.
So this might be a tool, sorry to interrupt, but this might be a tool where maybe once you're beginning to graduate and you've had, you know, your internships or experiences, and you're starting to really make those that finite network connections, those third, second, first connections might, be more of interest. But if you're a high school student and you're curious about an alumni, I think that this could also help you search careers and majors and just get a sense of what you could do with a major, for example, because I'm seeing you have everyone from a senior vice president to someone in corporate communications and senior analytics. And so I just think it's interesting that you can get a sense of the types of jobs. I think in high school, we think like, you go to school and you major in business, or you become, just very specific roles. But there's so many jobs that can stem from, from one major.
Totally agree. And I think that if you look at the graduation year, so you take a student that has graduated recently, like Alp, for instance. If we click on Alp, he's graduated close to 4 years ago. So if you scroll down, you see a title, you see how many connections, University of Michigan. We could see the experience. Again, think of this as an online resume that never sleeps. He has been at Hulu for almost 9 months now, but that's not where he started. He started at Strategy Ann. That's in New York City. So he also, this is kind of going into other aspects while he was at the University of Michigan. So let's scroll down to look to see what he did at Michigan. He had a bachelor's degree in industrial and operations engineering, okay, and a master's degree in the same field. So obviously in this regard, he didn't necessarily go for a business degree, but in some capacity, he is working in some realm of business within Hulu. I find for these recent graduates, you certainly have opportunities for travel abroad, as he mentioned here. And also, you also see that he did an internship, a business analyst intern in Washington, D.C. So he also was the president of the Met Consulting Group. Perhaps that was something he started on his own. It looks like that could have been something he started on his own. But
I find that so intriguing, because I think when we talk about college, again, like when you're researching schools, it's really hard to put a narrative of how your college experience might be and what are the things that will be important to you as a student. So we talk about searching for schools and their location, their size, the programs that they offer, but like you just dove in and this student or former graduate was able to study abroad and take an internship. So I think that this tool kind of helps shed light to the types of experiences that I think when you graduate from a college will matter more than the name of the university you're attending, for example.
No, you're very right. And let me give, a couple tips for students who might feel comfortable reaching out to connect and ask an alum questions. Up here, you have, it's either going to list connect, or if you click more, you can connect. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to try to connect with Alp. But when you do this, I would never recommend anyone connecting, even if you feel you might know a person, without putting a message in there. So you're probably thinking, what could a high school student say in a message to Alp? Well, one of two things. Let's take a prospective student that might be interested either in Hulu or maybe wants to be a strategic analytics analyst. Or maybe that just sounds interesting. It's, hi, my name is Chuck Lydiard, and I'm a rising senior at Beverly Hills High School. I'm really interested in business, and I have looked at the University of Michigan as a potential school. I love Hulu, and I'm curious to see how the University of Michigan has prepared you for your current role at Hulu. And you could even ask a few questions. I wouldn't make the message long, but keep in mind that, by reaching out, if Alp had a great experience at their schools, are more than comfortable to share their experiences with other people, especially if they're considering the University of Michigan, if they're thinking to apply there. Keep in mind too that, we live in an era where we we expect instant gratification. And I find that I need to remind a lot of not only students, but also young adults that it could be very possible that I'll check his LinkedIn profile or LinkedIn page maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. So if you don't get a message in the first few hours, don't fret. It's okay. It is possible he may not even reach out to you, but I do feel like if you were, I talked to a lot of high school students who are trying to get internships in their community, and I ask, do you only just go to one place? And they go, no, we go to like 7, 8, 9, 10 places because it can be very competitive. And I think, I don't want to say this is competitive, but I do feel you need to kind of put yourself out there more and allow, understand the fact that some people may not reach back to you, but I guarantee if you put yourself out there a few times, you're going to have success. And it just may not be instantaneous, but you may have to do it more than once. If you've been admitted to the University of Delaware, say you're a senior and you're trying to decide between a variety of schools that have accepted you, you can certainly have more in-depth conversations about specific programs or internships that they might have done at their university that might have set them up for success as they entered the job force. I mean, again, from the college side, we all prepare, all the colleges out there prepare students for success after graduation. But here you have literally a graduate of a university that is showcasing their experiences on their LinkedIn profile, their resume. And I think that you can get more specific data points and information to help make a more informative decision.
Yeah, and I think those points resonate with me, especially just being patient with the response time coming back from a person. We're so used to instantaneous responses on social media, especially if you're antsy and excited to hear back. If you're putting yourself out there and it has to do with your future. But just keep in mind, cast a wide net, and networking takes time and momentum. So, as a student, you're starting to build this and cast a wider net in college. And so just continue to stay confident, have your professional resume.
Casey, I want to highlight one more thing here. And I do think this is a resource as well that you could certainly use if you're interested in a certain career or perhaps a university. But just like Instagram, Facebook, and other social media platforms, you have the opportunity to follow individuals, but then also you have organizations that you can follow too that might have more information for a specific career. So you can look at certain individuals anyone is following that might be producing content in their respective field, or they might be influencers that you might find intriguing to follow, companies as well, groups. And I feel that a lot of organizations would put that are on LinkedIn and you follow, you can actually get some of the most cutting edge professional development resources, articles that are out there. Because one thing with the internet is there is too much information out there. What can you find that is reliable? And a lot of times if an individual is following a professional organization, if you're interested in that specific career and you want to learn more, if that might be right for you, I find that particular organization a lot of times has conferences, but has resources that might be available for anyone to look at. And if they do require membership, a lot of times you can find that there might be a student membership involved as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for showing that. I think it's one tool that's very powerful, and it helps differentiate making a final decision in a college or beginning your research, and then ultimately when you attend school and graduate. Before we kind of wrap this up, as an admissions counselor, you work with students all the time. You're really passionate about making sure that kids get connected to a program and a network that makes sense for them. Any last minute kind of tidbits on this topic, or just in general as students are researching schools and starting to build that professional presence?
This is just one tool amongst many, and I know there's a lot out there, but I think with the cost of college seeming to get higher and higher every year, I think utilizing the tools out there that could help you make a more informed decision can only help you in feeling comfortable with what you ultimately decide. I find that because this is a very common trend of having first-year students getting on LinkedIn right away, that you could be ahead of the game if you were to create your profile there. It would help you in many ways with just getting a lot of your thoughts out on a digital platform, which will eventually possibly be on your application. But yeah, the possibilities are really endless with this. You know, your first year student, perhaps you want to intern in a certain city, and you certainly have connections within your career center or wherever you go to college, but a lot of these can be actually generated by yourself. And I do think that idea of networking, of actually trying to make these connections for your professional network, but also personal network too. Communities, you can certainly start by filling your LinkedIn profile, but then, like I mentioned, you need to go back and revise it. I would probably recommend to do it at least every year, if not twice a year, for a high school student. And as soon as we choose that college, you're certainly going to want to add that on as well and update that too.
Yeah, absolutely. You could update it once a semester, once you know, finish your activities and maybe you have a couple extra awards to add. Keep in mind, you can keep the page private if you're just starting out and you're feeling a little bit like wanting to keep a private space for your profile. But once you start feeling comfortable and you want to network and connect and feel comfortable, you can make it public, keep it up to date, and use it. I like that you mentioned that it's one tool. You know, when you're a student and you're researching schools, you mentioned this before, Chuck, but there is so much content and information online, it can get really overwhelming. But at the end of the day, you're a student who's wanting to choose a college that's going to support experiences that will enhance your growth and create that professional network and presence, so that when you graduate, you feel really confident and have the tools to succeed. And again, it's fun to see that people have many different paths to success. So I find it's really interesting to see the different twists and turns in getting to success in different industries and careers. Well, thank you so much, Chuck, for joining us. And, you know, I think we should search University of Delaware next. So go home and check that out. And they have a very strong alumni in LA too, I imagine. Yes. And so thank you so much for all those great tips. Regardless of your grade level, I think that this is very valuable, and you can walk away feeling really confident about your next steps wherever you are. So I will put the link to LinkedIn in the description, and then you can check out the blog and Instagram, College Counselor Rally. And Chuck, thank you so much for joining, and we will see you hopefully soon.
Can't wait. My pleasure.